All right, everyone, let's go ahead and take your seats, please. We're going to get started because we have back-to-back meetings today. We are having a little bit of a problem with our Granicus system, but we don't have any voting items. We just have presentations. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started. Paul, I know we don't have a quorum. It's exactly. I'm a quorum of one, but we have some important presentations, and actually, I'm really pleased to discuss this topic because, as some of you all know, I chair the Economic Development Committee, and I also chair this committee, the Climate Committee. And today we're kind of intersecting those two because we're talking about a larger investment in our city when it comes to renewable energy and the economic impacts of renewable energy, particularly when it comes to wind energy. And I'm also proud to say that this council over the past 6 years or so has really moved forward on some policies that have drawn this particular sector to New Orleans. One of those specific policies is the Renewable Clean Portfolio Standard, which we as regulators of Entergy New Orleans passed a couple of years ago, which requires Entergy New Orleans to meet net zero carbon emissions by 2040 and full zero by 2050, which means that they will have to make this transition into ensuring that they're investing in clean energy. So with that being said, we have several presentations today. First, it looks like we've got Michael Hecht, who's going to be up first to present on offshore wind economic development updates, major wins, investment, and federal RFPs, along with Anthony Bodan. Are the first up. And I'm not Anthony. And anyone else who you have on your team and you want to bring up, please bring them up. Obviously, I'm not Anthony. Yes, you are not Anthony.
Council member, for the record, so Anthony Bodan actually now works for RWE, but with me today is our executive director of Future Energy, Lacey McManus.
All right, Lacey. Well, we're so glad to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. Council member, thank you so much for having us here today, and thank you for you and your team's leadership in this area. It's incredibly exciting that amidst everything else, Louisiana is actually poised to be the leading state for an all of the above clean energy future, and that's really centered in New Orleans and in our region. And so we're very excited about this opportunity to talk about some of the progress. It's a slide on GNO Inc., and we're going to go through that because all our listening audience go to gnoinc.org. This is what I wanted to talk about. Louisiana not only possesses the political will as embodied in your committee, council member, and the city council, and many other leaders in the state going up to the governor, but there are unique conditions in Louisiana that mean that we're particularly positioned to be the leader in clean energy. The first is that we are actually #2 highest energy consumption in the nation. And so the importance of that is that if you make a small percentage change in Louisiana, it has a huge absolute impact. We're one of the only states where emissions from industry exceed emissions from transportation. And while that's a challenge for us, it's also an opportunity for change. The second is hydrogen, which is related. There's a massive movement into green hydrogen that's made with zero carbon impact. And because we are #1 in the nation in hydrogen consumption, using it for things like making ammonia for fertilizer, steel, and diesel, it also means that if we can convert to green or clean hydrogen, we have this opportunity to reduce emissions by as much as 70% while still maintaining jobs. And Lacey's going to talk much more about that. Offshore wind is a triple opportunity for us. The first is that we are ranked #4 in the nation in offshore wind potential by the National Renewable Energies Lab. This is not necessarily because of our wind conditions, but because of the conditions of the Gulf, where we have 40 to 60 miles of shelf that allows you to embed in the seabed instead of floating, which is more cost effective. The second is using wind to make green hydrogen, which Lacey will talk about. And the third is that we are quickly becoming the manufacturers, the engineers, manufacturers, and installers of wind energy in other places in the nation. I know that members of your team came to visit Block Island with us recently, and we saw how Block Island, the first offshore wind farm in the country, has been almost entirely engineered, installed and now will be serviced by Louisiana companies. So we're selling shovels to the gold miners for offshore wind in America. And finally, innovative technology. There are a number of other areas ranging from batteries for electric vehicles to carbon capture, use and sequestration, where we literally have tens of billions of projects in our pipeline right now, and potentially some very exciting announcements before the end of the year. So it's a very exciting moment for Louisiana because we have the opportunity not only to help preserve the environment in our own state, but to demonstrate to the rest of the country how to have an all of the above clean energy future. Now I'll turn it over to Lacey, our Executive Director of Future Energy.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you again, Councilwoman, for having us today. We appreciate the opportunity to share this exciting work. So just to break down a very high level of how we envision offshore wind transitioning and translating into the green hydrogen opportunity, as Michael mentioned. What you see here on this slide is what I like to call a graphic for folks like me who do not have a STEM background, but a bit of a simplified vision for how we envision offshore wind, taking that power, moving it through electrolyzers that could be onshore, potentially offshore, likely onshore, into our industrial sector to convert that wind energy into green hydrogen, which, as Michael mentioned, not only provides that benefit for reducing emissions and having those cleaner outputs from our industrial sector, but also allowing us to retain the jobs in our industrial sector while creating new jobs and opportunity through the wind development as well. So we see this as being really a triple impact win from the economic development perspective, as well as the environmental. So we have a milestone event, which I think is the reason why we're all here today to talk about wind. The Gulf of Mexico wind lease opportunity is now a reality. It is no longer a pipe dream of environmentalists or economic developers. As of August 29th, it is happening. And we are thrilled that our friends and partners at RWE were the winning bidders on this particular lease area, securing over 100,000 acres in the Gulf of Mexico for that first commercial wind farm there in the Gulf. So milestone moment for wind that we are excited to now move forward with and figuring out how do we harness and capitalize on the economic opportunity created by this wind lease a few weeks ago. So from the GNO Inc. perspective, we are very fortunate to have a significant financial underpinning and backing for the way we dive into the wind sector and really all renewable energy. But for the purposes of this presentation, we'll focus very specifically on wind, but happy to answer any questions you or any colleagues might have on the other elements of this H to the Future grant. But what you see here in front of you in this rather complicated org chart is a breakdown of how GNO Inc. is using and investing a $75 million grant that we received almost a year ago today from the Economic Development Administration, matched with another investment from Louisiana Economic Development. This grant, called Build Back Better Regional Challenge Grant, is supporting a project called H to the Future, which I'm thrilled to be overseeing and leading in my role at GNO Inc. H to the Future really is intended to position not only New Orleans and our partners here in the greater New Orleans area, but our partners in economic development, higher education, and workforce development from New Orleans all the way to Lake Charles to capitalize on the opportunities in this hydrogen transition. So while that is certainly inclusive of blue hydrogen, carbon capture, other renewable energy opportunities such as solar, again, we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing on the wind front throughout today's presentation. But what you see here again in this org chart are the 16 projects, and they're really spread over about 25 different partners across all of South Louisiana that are all intended to ensure we have the right economic conditions, the right marketing, the right workforce development pipelines, the right R&D, the right lab spaces at our higher eds to make sure our Louisiana communities are fully capitalizing on the wind investments happening offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. So I'll walk you through a few of what these projects look like as it relates to wind right now. So a few of the investments that we're making through this Build Back Better award across our higher education partners, LSU, University of New Orleans, and ULL are all receiving around $4 million each to invest in their R&D capacity and in the test beds on their campuses. So the goal in each of these investments is to ensure that not only are the students that are going through these programs, those can be undergrads, grads, PhDs, that they're exposed to the latest and greatest in renewable energy technology and innovation, but ideally that they're able to start innovating and thinking through new concepts, solving problem statements that are currently existing in either the offshore wind or broader renewable energy industry, so that we can start spinning out some of that innovation and spurring a new level of entrepreneurship coming out of our higher eds and those lab spaces into our local economies with high growth, high capacity startups that are solving industry challenges. So what you see here is the breakdown of what's going on in each of those higher ed campuses. Again, for the purposes of this conversation, we'll focus on what our partners at University of New Orleans are doing, who I know are going to be presenting in just a few minutes, so I won't belabor their points, but we're very excited to be investing in the UNO campus through not only the naval hydrogen conversion opportunities within their naval engineering program, but also their fluid dynamic structure, which is a fancy term I've now learned for effectively a wave tank that will be able to test out some of the wind turbines and then some of the naval pieces as well. But fluid dynamic structure does sound much better.
So Lacey, so for these three universities, it looks like this is kind of like the innovation piece, kind of the labs, but in your previous slide, when you talk about the workforce piece, really, training that workforce, who are your partners for that?
So I'll get to that in just a moment. There are 8 community colleges that we're working with through the Louisiana Community and Technical College System.
Great.
And in addition to those 8 community colleges across South Louisiana, we've also partnered with the Louisiana Parole Project as well as the Urban League of Louisiana to create more symbiosis between those community colleges and those nonprofit partners to ensure that not only do we have the right training programs, but we're getting the right diversity of candidates and supply into those training programs as well. I can talk about that in a moment, but great question. So I want to talk a little bit about business development. This is we're an economic development agency. So certainly ensuring that we have businesses coming to and through the region, settling here, expanding here, growing here in the renewable energy landscape. That is part and parcel to this grant. This is just a snapshot of some recent wins over the last 6 months that we've seen really only in the GNO region. When we look across the project geography across South Louisiana, these wins triple pretty quickly and get even more exciting. But I wanted to call out certainly our partners with Gulf Wind Technology and the Shell collaboration that was announced a few months ago. Excited to see that expansion in Avondale, which will certainly have spillover benefits into Orleans and the New Orleans economy as well. When we look at our pipeline and we see the opportunities that we have across South Louisiana to capitalize again on this wind opportunity, what's really unique and I think most special about the wind advancements and investments coming online is that they build directly on our multi-generational success in offshore energy. So everything that we've been doing in oil and gas for generations now is directly transferable into this wind opportunity. And we see great potential for our ability to take what we've been doing in oil and gas and not necessarily shift or pivot, but expand those existing contractors' scopes of work, their lines of service, their operations into the wind opportunity, ideally allowing them to hire more people, bring on more talent, go after bigger contracts and create bigger business opportunities for themselves. Again, just looking at, as Michael mentioned earlier, in addition to this, this generational opportunity that we see in oil and gas, there is the net potential of wind off the coast of Louisiana with those extended shorelines and the ability to implement those turbines with greater efficiency and ideally lower cost as well. And then certainly Louisiana being a low-cost business state, a business-friendly state, applying those same incentives, which again have really spurred so much of our industrial development over the last few decades. 2 components of the supply chain for wind manufacturing and that offshore wind installation is another strategic opportunity for us from the business perspective. As Michael mentioned, we know a number of Louisiana companies were really to be thanked and congratulated for the build out of the Block Island Wind Farm. In fact, the Business Network for Offshore Wind estimates that about 25% or so of contracts going to contractors in the New England area for the build out of wind were going to Gulf Coast contractors. So again, that legacy experience in oil and gas is already being leveraged to employ more Louisiana folks, more Louisiana companies in the build out of wind nationally. What we have the opportunity to do now, thanks in large part to the wind release just a few weeks ago, is take all of that experience and start bringing that home to our own backyard. So ideally continuing to go after those contracts on the East Coast, on the West Coast, now that those are starting to open up. There was an Oregon wind lease recently as well, and starting to take those contracts in the Gulf of Mexico as well, all providing new business lines for our existing businesses. And then again, continuing to attract the supply chain here to Louisiana, now that that wind lease is coming to the Gulf of Mexico right off the Lake Charles port. So in our own backyard. What we're doing at GNO Inc. is part of H to the Future. And actually this initiative predates the H to the Future grant and award, but folds in nicely to all of the business retention, the business expansion efforts of H to the Future is operating the GNO Wind Alliance. My colleague Cam Poole is really to be thanked for his tremendous leadership, owning and running with this Wind Alliance. These are just a few of the companies that are involved in the Alliance. We currently have over 250 individual member companies in this Wind Alliance. Many of those companies are Louisiana based. Many are based across the Gulf Coast. Some are even national. And we also have quite a few international companies as well as part of this alliance. The alliance meets monthly. We also have a monthly digest that comes out as well. It's really become the platform for exchange of ideas, connections between companies, pursuits of joint grant opportunities, as well as updates and movement on any type of legislative front. So Cam will do a wonderful job positioning letters from the Wind Alliance for either federal lease rules, state lease rules, things of that nature. So we're grateful for the partnerships that we've been able to broker through this platform. In addition to the Wind Alliance, we also have an exciting new tool coming online very shortly that's actually been sponsored by RWE. This is a wind supplier database. So we should be going live with this supplier database, hopefully in the next week or so. I'm waiting on a text from Anthony right now with RWE to let us know the launch plan and what they would like to see happen. But we're thrilled to be showcasing over 130 companies that are all Louisiana based, who either have been working in wind or have the opportunity and the skill set to work in wind. And so this database is intended to not only ensure RWE has access to those local Louisiana contractors, but also that contractors and folks in the Northeast, on the West Coast as well, who are interested in soliciting Louisiana talent, getting Louisiana contractors and firms onto their bids, are able to quickly and easily find and access those Louisiana contractors. Last piece on the business retention and expansion efforts, we've also partnered with the Business Network for Offshore Wind. We're hosting a workshop series the first week of November across South Louisiana. It'll be 5 individual workshops with companies that are either already working in wind and trying to get into the Louisiana wind landscape and Gulf of Mexico wind opportunity, or have potentially been working in oil and gas or aligned services that want to start taking advantage of wind contracts. Business Network for Offshore Wind has a curriculum that they've been rolling with for years now, specifically designed to take those companies and position them for those opportunities in the wind space. We're excited to bring that curriculum on the ground to Louisiana through a roadshow of workshops the first week of November. So certainly for companies who might be interested in those opportunities, we'll have an announcement coming out very shortly for how they can register for those workshop series as well. On the workforce front, to get back to your original question, Councilwoman, we're very excited that we've had so much momentum already with some of our key workforce allies and partners, specifically with Nunez Community College, as well as UNO. I don't want to steal UNO's thunder, so I'll let Rebecca and Shafeen speak to this shortly. And if Dr. Tenney's here, I'll let her address what's going on with Nunez. But we're thrilled that some of our New Orleans-based workforce partners and higher education leaders are already diving in to the wind landscape, building out, as is the case with Nunez, the wind technician program to ensure that these new technicians that we've never needed before in Louisiana, but we're going to start needing in droves in the next coming years, are being produced locally, that we have those local workforce pipelines that folks like RWE can hire from and retain to service these opportunities in the Gulf of Mexico, and then creating that next step with the University of New Orleans, ensuring that we have the engineering capacity, the R&D capacity on UNO's campus to create that workforce pipeline specific to wind as well. Just a few more slides and a little more detail on the UNO program, but I know Rebecca will be going into much greater, providing much more information on this in just a moment. And then on the Nunez side as well, again, the partnership I think that they've created with Energy Innovation out of Norway is just tremendous. I was talking to Dr. Tenney just last week, and she was mentioning that some of their staff are actually about to head over to Scandinavia to start doing that training in Norway, so that we're able to bring literally global and international best practices here to the greater New Orleans region and to the Gulf of Mexico before we even have these turbines installed. That is absolutely phenomenal. And we're thrilled with Nunez's leadership on this front.
Yeah,
There we go. There's the bumper sticker.
I like it. I like it. Marketing.
So that's an overview of everything we have going on with H to the Future as it relates to wind. I'm happy to answer any questions and provide more detail or color on any questions you might have.
Lacey and Michael, thank you so much. Really just one question that I hear about often. So it's really about building up our infrastructure when it comes to the transmission lines, the subsea lines. There's already, the lines already there that could be utilized for wind energy as well. So what are the conversations like with the power utility companies, whether it's whether it's Entergy Louisiana, whether it's CLECO, what are those conversations like as far as, either updating or transitioning current infrastructure or building new?
That is certainly a key question that we have as well. We're very excited that through this last legislative session, the Department of Natural Resources at the state level was actually allocated several $1 million in funding to undertake that transmission study. So it is my understanding that I think they're starting to get that contractor on board to start that study now to really understand and have the data behind that decision making to answer those very questions that you were just asking. What needs to be updated? What needs to be overhauled? What's the price tag associated with all of this? Right now, to the best of my knowledge, it is certainly a gray area at best. So we are looking forward to having further data to better illustrate those points and those opportunities.
Yeah, because that's really the key to having this industry explode. I mean, if we're able to lay down that, the lines, and get the infrastructure in place and make it, cheaper to come in, we will be the champions in this. I think.
Absolutely.
And Councilmember, I think that's also one of the reasons why the 5 projects that are in state waters are
Yeah.
interesting, because they reduce
Sure.
that challenge to some degree and mitigate the cost delta that is the technical issue that will drive this.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I want to let the record show that Council President Morrell is also here now. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay. All right. So up next, we've got agenda item number 4, which is Opportunity Hub Foundation, New Energy Technology Incubator, and H2 to the Future. Wait, actually, you all did part of that as well too. So on the H2 to the Future. So thank you for that. But come on up. We've got, let's see, Leroy Brown and Nikki Trufant Wade. And we'll load up your presentation for you.
Slide. Yeah. Sorry about that. Switch.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you got?
We're doing great. Please introduce yourselves and you can begin your presentation whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Leroy Brown. I'm with OHUB and I'm actually in charge of the ecosystem development.
And I'm Nikki Trufant Wade with OHUB. I handle all marketing and communications.
Nice to see you.
Okay, and first of all, thank you guys for having us. We're super excited to be with our partners here today to kind of explain what we've been working on here in the city. OHUB is based in Atlanta. However, Nikki and I are the on-the-ground team here in the New Orleans area. And when we first started this project, I think the first thing that we asked ourselves is, what do we already have? And one of the things we know that we have here in the city is community and we have culture. So because this community and this culture is so strong, it was really easy for us to get in and kind of do like we always do. Being able to, that we always do here in New Orleans, being able to meet different folks, kind of get an idea where things are inside of their space and how can we help from an OHUB perspective, how do we create opportunities for Black and Brown founders that are coming to the city? So first of all, I want to acknowledge our ecosystem partners. You've already heard from GNO. We also have 100 Black Angels. And I have some other partnerships I'm also going to talk about as we move forward in the future, okay? So when we're thinking about building this ecosystem, I think the first thing that we have to focus on is early exposure. While we are, as Louisiana, ahead of the game when it comes to being able to position ourselves for energy, when we're talking about positioning our human capital and capitalizing on our founders becomes a little bit different, a little bit different game plan. The game plan for that is to make sure that everyone is getting early exposure or some kind of access to the information that's taking place. So what we've done here is we started something called OHUB Fridays. And with OHUB Fridays, as you can see, our last one, we had James Martin, who is the CEO of Growthwind Technologies. We bring out different specialists in different fields, be it venture capitalists, or also be it other founders, to kind of give us some insight on what does it take to be a founder? What is it going to take to get those projects looked at? What is it going to take to get them in front of VCs? Another thing that's really good about this, because we are looking for Black and brown founders, one of the things that we try to do is we make sure that we put folks in front of folks that look like them and that have done the things that they want to do. So it's been beautiful being able to get a lot of folks. We've had a lot of support coming from outside of the state, but we had a lot of support coming from inside of the state as well. And there's something else that we're going to talk a little bit later on about is our OHUB app. Because on the OHUB app, it allows people to actually interact and engage inside of our ecosystem with other opportunities that OHUB presents, like I said, with other opportunities that OHUB presents. So the first piece of it is education and skill development. With education and skill development, one of the things we're looking at, we have some partnerships with universities, but also we have our partnerships with the folks who actually Growthwind Technologies, with the other organizations that are actually creating this innovation and doing these different projects. We actually do job postings and different things inside of our ecosystem in order for those guys to take advantage of that. Here on the ground, building relationships with industry partners. Sorry. The other part, I'll stay right there. Okay. The other thing that we've done is we're bringing our universities, specifically our HBCUs, on board by being able to partner with them, offering certain certifications. There we have a Black Technology Ecosystem Investment certification. We have Diversity, Equity, Inclusion certification. We also have already started our high growth company building certification, which allows the founders and the folks that are inside the ecosystem to get educated by folks who are already at the top of the level inside that field and getting prepared for going in front of VCs and other folks and other investors. One of the partnerships that we're really proud of, it just came online at our last OHUB, is our relationship with Dillard University. So with Dillard University now, we will have an on-campus presence, and we will also be offering them workforce development, some concepts around full stack software development, tech sales, and green and new energy opportunities that they can take advantage of. I think one of the things that we've figured out and asking the question of what do we have, be it our HBCUs or be it all the universities, everyone does a really good job from a business side or having business classes. We all know that. I think Southern SUNO has one of the original small business incubators. So a lot of those people are already prepared at getting businesses and founders up to speed on, be it their business plan, be it their pitch deck. How do we get those guys in a space where they can actually do market? So what we're doing is focusing heavily on getting our HBCUs and getting out of the universities in a space where they can help founders and other folks with great concepts come to the table with the information that they need.
And, Mr. Brown, I think what's so great is that by doing this and really with the work that you're doing, it's like you're really providing assistance at all levels, from the very top for the entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
For the person who wants to start the business. But with you being in the universities and also with the job postings that you're providing, also anyone that's really interested in this field can have the opportunity to be part of it with a new job or educational opportunities. So when I thought of you all, I always thought of like, you're like the entrepreneur folks,
Right.
You guys are the ones that build the new, businesses, right? But you are doing so much more than that. I mean, you're really drawing people into this field and helping to train them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's kind of like, with any, with any celebration here in New Orleans, there's always that house that we all go to that just happens to have
Right.
everything, right?
Right.
So that's our goal, man. We try to invite everybody in regardless of what they really specialize in, because at some level, our partners are sharing information with us that it may not be something that immediately works for someone that's in our space, but it may work for someone that's coming into our
Right,
space. So it may be
right.
something we can lead them to later on.
Right.
Which has been really cool. So outside HBCUs, we're also working with our local universities as well. We had a chance to spend some time with Loyola at their pitch competition. We also do had a chance to connect with Tulane, and UNO has been an amazing kind of standard in this thing. We spent a lot of time with those guys and kind of, giving us some insight on how we can work with students on their campus as well. So now we finally get into the innovation part. One of the things that we've learned from the innovation part is that in identifying Black and brown founders, man, obviously we're finding founders across the board. But I think what's really interesting about this is that there's a group of students who went here and folks who went here who have left because they felt like they had to leave to maximize their talent.
Yes.
And then there's a group of folks who are here who don't want to leave. They want to stay and they want to maximize their talent. And then we just have so many fans of this culture in this community that we have founders outside of here that don't have ties to this that want to be here because they feel like they're going to be surrounded by people that care about them and they're going to be supported. And I think that New Orleans happens to be probably one of the last communities where we can actually say that everyone is going to be included, everyone's going to be invited to participate. The other part of our spot is entrepreneurship. So in the entrepreneurship space, what we do is we started a one-day startup. We did that one-day startup July 8th. And then that one-day startup, what we do is we kind of take all the founders, anyone who's interested in this project, and we take them through all the steps of what's important for them to be prepared to be in front of someone who they're going to ask money for. At that particular point in time, it's one of those things, as our CEO likes to say, this is where you determine if you need to leave your day job or this is something where you just need to keep it a hobby. After that, we go into our high growth company building certification. Now, the high growth company building certification, it's a little bit different level of intensity. At this particular point in time, you're really grinding down everything to find out who are the best projects that are on the table. So we've gotten past that initial sign up of trying to figure out if this is a job or a hobby. Now we have the folks who have real live, really good projects ready to rock and roll. We have them trying to get them prepared to get funded. At this point right now, our high growth company certification, I think we have over probably 25 folks that are already in the pipeline. They're going through this particular training. That's right here. Marketing capital. So marketing capital access. Sometimes the biggest challenge for the founders that we have learned, that we figured out, is just being able to get access to people that will listen. And so in getting access to people that will listen, one of the things that we try to do is we have a group of local as well as national VCs or partnerships that kind of help these guys get prepared as well. So here locally, we have Kelly Salmi, who's with Corridor Ventures. She's one of the investors. We also do some things with the New Orleans Startup Fund, as well as Propeller, who also has some has funding and training as well. We've also been able to bring some folks from the outside. So you have VCs like Julia Collins, who's raised over $100 million for her project. Kayla Jennings Byrne, who's up on the East Coast, and she's raised over 50 million for her project. We also bring the 100 Black Angels to the table as well. So regardless of this ecosystem has folks who are ready. Our ecosystem has folks inside the local space who are ready to fund, and we also have folks who are on the outside of the local space who are also ready to fund as well. Because we have such great partners as far as capital access, we also have the GNO Inc. StartupNola.com, which is something we're super excited about. because from A to Z, you probably have over 140 resources that are available for us to make available to our group. We have local VCs, we have local incubators. In this spot, I would like to take a time, kind of shine a little light on Idea Village for the great work that they've done, Propeller for the great work support they've done, Fund 17 for the great work support they've done, Camelback Ventures for all the help. And there's a litany of other, and I hope I haven't left anyone off. But I can tell you that this community has 100% embraced us and kind of helped us along as far as the task that we're trying to accomplish. Our ultimate goal with OHUB actually is to do 500,000 in funding powered in part by LED and the SSBCI $1 million investment that we will have throughout, like I said, through our partners and through what the EDA has already set up and provided. So at the end of our high growth stage, we will have 5 companies that will move forward to receive funding. But those folks, and we always say this, we're excited about the ones that get funded, but how we treat the ones that don't necessarily get funded or whose stuff is not up to snuff at that particular point in time, we want to nurture those projects because we're here for a 4-year commitment and instead of trying to recycle every single year, the goal would be to, after the ones get funded, take the rest of them and start nurturing those projects, get them in the appropriate incubators, get them in appropriate connections and make sure that they have whatever they need to kind of come along and maybe they can participate in the next round of our project. So wealth and job creations. When it comes to wealth and job creations, I mean, new energy companies means wealth creation for new founders, but it also means higher paying jobs for our community as well. I think one of the things that we're finding out here right now, working with GoFwind Technologies and other companies across the board, is that they have great opportunities. They have opportunities that are definitely higher than current wages are, in the state. So it's going to give them an opportunity to get exposure to our community and give that community the opportunity to access some resources and opportunities that they may not have before. So at this particular point, I think one of the things that we always want to make available for you guys is our OHUB app. And we're going to have a QRC code. Okay. There we go. Oh, let me tell them about the team. First of all, before I skip over our OHUB number 10, I want to make sure I tell you a little bit about our team. Rodney Sampson is our CEO. He started OHUB out in Atlanta and really wanted to come back here for to do this project. And myself and Nikki, we're actually on the ground right here in New Orleans. And Daryl is our specialist in recruitment. He's a venture capitalist. And he's received funds and he's also invested in a lot of different projects as well. Connection between me and Rodney is he and I both went to Tulane University. So being able to come back here and spend some time here in the city and place where we said we actually grew up has been an honor too. So we would like most definitely for you guys to visit us at www.opportunityhub.com/NOLA. Have a chance to download our app. We'll have some information for that. And then spread the word to your constituents, man. One of the things about New Orleans is I know that the more people are on board or the more people who are educated in the space around what's actually taking place, the more it's going to give folks who don't get a chance to hear this type of stuff or be around these opportunities. It will give them opportunity to get connected with us, and we'd love to have them.
Awesome. And actually, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yes.
That to please, send us, any events that you all are having, because we do want to make sure that we do spread the word about your organization and also any events that people can attend. So that would be helpful.
Okay, definitely. And we'll just reach out after the meeting. We'll reach out.
You got it. I'll get you with Andrew and he'll give you the best contact info for all of us. And then you can just send it to all the council members and we can all share it around. All right.
Awesome, man. Thank you. We'd love to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I don't see any questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and our final item is Rebecca Conwell, President and CEO, UNO Research and Technology Foundation, on UNO Win Scholars, along with UNO Workforce and Research Updates. So Rebecca, come on up with your team. Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning. Whenever you're ready.
Morning, Council Member Moreno and Councilmember Morel. Thank you for allowing us to present today. This is our favorite subject. And it's great to be part of good news and part of a collaboration that's working so well together. As the president and CEO of the UNO Research and Technology Foundation and the Beach, I want to give a kind of an overview of how we got to this place and how we became a partners in this endeavor. As you probably know, Councilmember Morel is very familiar with the UNO Research and Technology Foundation and the Research Park, that it was formed approximately 30 years ago, and then the Research Park followed its acquisition by UNO at they acquired the former site of the Pontchartrain Beach Amusement Park. You know, as any long-term public-private partnerships, when you're 30 years old, your relationship tends to wax and wane, and your vision probably changes and needs to be readjusted, which is exactly what happened in 2017. The board of directors decided to kind of reevaluate the relationship and the mission of the organization, and to see that if we couldn't be greater aligned with economic development goals of the city and the state and region, and those of the university. So as you know, we sit on 30 acres. We're 600,000 square feet, dispersed over 6 buildings. We also have 200,000 square feet at Avondale. We have approximately 46 tenants. I believe we're growing every day, it seems like. The tenants range from the US Navy to Eurofins, the world's largest food testing company based out of Brussels. We also have CPRA, we have Wildlife and Fisheries. As you know, we have Advano and ID Scan. We have the Water Institute. We have General Dynamics IT. We have the Vera Institute for Criminal Justice Reform. We have the Black Chamber, the Haka Group. We have a very great collaborative group and community that we've built at the park. I think probably over 50% of our tenants focus on either engineering, water, or technology. I should also say I can't do my job as a keeper of real estate and not tell you that we have free parking and a lot of it. I think approximately 200,000 square feet. And we just went in partnerships with UNO's security to provide 24-hour security with their trained workforce. In 2017, as I mentioned, we commissioned a strategic plan exercise, and it was launched in 2019. Approximately the time that I came on board and was asked to implement the strategic plan. It's all basic. You know, most people don't like to inherit a plan. It made me want the job. The focuses are really common sense. Number one was to create a new energy at the park. Number two is to encourage companies and research and technology-based organizations to partner with UNO and the park. Increase innovation, create grants that incentivize external research, and then develop a long-term distinctive real estate project at the university. So we, with any initiative, you go with the easy one. So we had fun coming up with a new name that would create more energy as the initiative suggested. And in partnership with Michael Hecht and Geno Inc., within 2 weeks, we were able to come up with the name The Beach as a nod to the amusement park. And then we added a sandbox for collaboration, which really does a great job of explaining the community that we're building on the site. And then with that, we did reassessment of, did we have the organization that we needed to be able to pull off the new mission and the initiatives that we've been charged to do? So with that, And with the help of a consultant, we reorganized and we outsourced our real estate to Corporate Realties, who manages our property and our leasing. We outsourced our accounting. We offloaded everything that wasn't mission aligned. And then we created an innovation division whose sole purpose to wake up every morning to find that connectivity and opportunities for the university. And of course, then the most, exciting piece that's relevant today is that we will be the host of the New Energy Center of the United States at the CERN building, which is part of the Lindy Boggs Conference Center. So if we take, I think about 36,000 square feet is the conference center. The Nexus will be in 15,000 of that. And then in addition to the EDA grant, that's going to give us a state-of-the-art space, it will be private office, shared workspace, classroom, research labs. It'll be the place for all the H to the future partners to come to collaborate, to grow the green hydrogen and renewable industry. Adjacent to that, and under the same footprint, is the conference center, the Lindy Boggs Auditorium and the amphitheater, and we're going to be completely renovating it to the state-of-the-art space. So that will be with our private dollars that we have at the foundation. So along with that, a tremendous investment that we're going to make in the landscaping and all the common areas. We expect to invest over $30 million at the beach in the next 2.5 years. So we're really creating a really dynamic space for the growth of the renewable industry. So with that, I'm going to turn over to my Vice President for Innovation and External Affairs, Shaveen Khan.
Good morning, council members. Excited to be here to talk about how the Innovation Division is really leveraging the academic assets of the University of New Orleans to benefit the offshore wind industry and push the industry forward. And we think particularly because of the engineering expertise and the knowledge of the Gulf of Mexico environment that our engineering school and environmental sciences programs at UNO has, we're really ideally well set up to support this. And so we've created a framework based on some feedback from the Department of Energy that's identified some technical challenges for offshore wind in the Gulf of Mexico. They've talked about the softer soils, the lower average wind speeds, and of course, hurricanes being the big one, as being opportunities for innovation, the need for technical innovations for that. And so we've set up a framework to support that sort of innovation, to support new engineering concepts to solve those problems, and to support research. And of course, as Lacey mentioned, supporting a talent pipeline to support this growing industry. So what we've done is launched the Louisiana Wind Energy Hub at UNO, which is a collaboration between the beach and our academic partners. Our main one, of course, is the University of New Orleans, but we were actually building further partnerships. We brought on Tulane University, Nunez Community College, Southern Baton Rouge, and the University of Southern Mississippi, and we expect that list to grow and are working closely with our economic development and private industry partners to push this piece of it forward. And the role that the beach plays really is twofold. We're number one, a place for education and programming, and number two, a place to support academic industry collaboration and research based on that. So we facilitate a lot of events. We have a networking event actually coming up on September 26th that's going to honor our wind scholars that you're going to hear about shortly. But we like to get industry in the room, connecting with our students and our faculty to make those connections. We also do workshops, bringing in national thought leaders to talk about new engineering concepts, new engineering research that's happening, to position UNO to be the place for those conversations. And finally, the image you see here is a conversation with environmental not-for-profits and our environmental sciences faculty around research needs, research opportunities related to wind in the Gulf of Mexico. So we believe that with the resources that we have with UNO, we'll be ideally positioned for that. Thank you. Another piece that we're doing is an academic industry research piece. This is a photo taken with our partners at Gulf Wind Technology. 3 of the 4 students that you see here are UNO students, and they're getting to be on the cutting edge of this new research, working with Gulf Wind on new turbine designs, new next generation turbine development. And so what a great opportunity for UNO students to be at that forefront of this industry and to support the new R&D that's happening. So for research programs like this, we look forward to supporting and continuing to support those. And the workforce programs like the Wind Scholars that you're going to hear about really are positioning our students to give them that unique perspective to be on the front lines of this new industry and to position them as leaders in this growing industry. So now I'll turn it over to our Associate Dean, Dr. Dimitrios Karolimpidis.
Well, good morning, council members. So yeah, in the College of Engineering at the University of New Orleans, I mean, we're very happy to be part of this effort. Actually, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was. I always have technical issues. All right. So basically, we're very happy also because our programs and departments have the expertise needed to build a foundation for wind technology and related research. So all our departments, civil and environmental engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical and computer engineering, and also the School of Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, and different areas of either for teaching purposes or for research, like analysis and design of offshore platforms, energy conversion, energy management. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, energy conversion, energy management, power systems, power relays, and all these related technologies. And so in addition to that, I mean, we are making an effort to build a couple of research laboratories related to this area. One of them is the Maritime Green Energy Lab, and that's more H to the future related and funded. And so this is about using hydrogen to fuel ships and also use it as for energy storage. Then the other lab is the Wind Energy Lab, and this one is meant to be used for various reasons, but especially to train students in wind technology. It uses some state-of-the-art software to train students for offshore platforms and wind turbines. And this is also going to be used for one of the competitions that the students are going to be participating. Now, to go back to the School of Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, it was mentioned earlier in one of the other presentations that they have some special features because it's one of the few programs in the country which are accredited in this area. And also they have the capability, as we can see here in the towing tank that was mentioned before. It's a 128-foot long towing tank where they can do testing of various models, ships, and also offshore platforms for various conditions, such as wave and shallow waters and calm waters and all that. So they do have the capability. And in fact, this is the school that, I mean, this department is the one mostly involved with these efforts, and several of the faculty in there. So in addition to these, we're very happy that, you know, our university is participating in the collegiate wind competition. It's one of the 32 teams in the country, and as we can, it's small, but we can probably see that there are some very well-known universities in there, such as Purdue, MIT, and several universities at Texas and so on. And so students from all our departments in engineering, including some students from business, are participating in this. And the lab that I mentioned before, the Wind Energy Lab, is going to be used specifically as part of their training, so to help them learn about wind technology and modeling. But even before that, I mean, we're happy that we have alumni working in this area from before. So in fact, for the Rhode Island project, the steel and foundation and service vessels that were manufactured in Louisiana, and the foundation, the design team that led this, foundation design team was led by one of the UNO alums. And in fact, she was also the one who was involved in the development of, or at least, you know, gave us ideas for the development of the Wind Scholars Program, which I'm going to talk about now. And we're happy to have this. It's a very great opportunity for our students, and they can be prepared for, you know, to work in this field and in wind technology in a couple of different ways. The first one is through a set of courses. So we have pathways. Depending on their background, like for civil, electrical, mechanical, naval architecture students, they can take 4 courses and they're supported to do so. And that we also have a path for graduate students. And in addition to that, of course, there is internships, which are through our partners. And we have RWE, Edison, just offshore, Gulf Wind Technology, and Energy Nola, and Keystone Engineering, yes. And so we're very, we're very happy to have that opportunity, and we thank them for their collaboration and sponsorship for the internships. And so it's time, I guess, to meet the scholars. So basically we have 5, and these are the inaugural cohort because this is the first year we're doing this. And so we have Elizabeth Donner from Civil Engineering, she's a junior. And we have Tamara Lepore from Naval Architecture, a senior. Nahreen Mahmoud from Electrical Engineering, a junior. Gazir Raihan from Mechanical Engineering, a graduate student. And Melanie Ross from Civil Engineering, who's a junior also. And
Welcome to the city council.
thanks. And I think Tamara is gonna, would like to invite Tamara Lepore to just talk for a minute.
You can go to the podium right there,
Yeah, just in a-
right there. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Tamara Lepore. I'm a senior in Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering at UNO. And I am proud to represent the rest of the WIN scholars here.
Wonderful.
I moved to New Orleans from North Carolina without knowing a single person. And when I got here, I found a city that was incredibly welcoming, a program that embraced its students and prepared us for very successful careers in whatever industry we wanted to do, and a school that embraced its diversity and set up its students to succeed however we wanted. So I don't know how you guys chose only 5 WIN scholars, honestly. The students at UNO are so hardworking and passionate about everything they do. But since we've been selected, we've all been making great connections with other students and other industry leaders, specifically in the wind industry. But it's not just about making connections. It's been about kind of growing our passion for renewable energies. We've all been selected to be leaders within the new generation of the wind industry. So we've been working in the collegiate wind competition. We've been raising awareness about wind in the Gulf recently. And we've all been learning a lot from industry leaders and our internships that we're all about to start. So this has been a great opportunity for all of us, and I'm really excited to see where we all go with it.
Thank you so much.
So if you have any questions, we're really excited about the WIN Scholars Program. I think it really is the blueprint for how academia and industry and economic development entities work together to assure that a workforce is coming out that is trained and ready to support an emerging industry.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Conwell, for your presentation. And as you see, we've got some members of the media here. They're actually here for a separate meeting. But for those of you in the media, I just wanted to say that when there is a slow news day, or maybe when you're working on some sweep stories, that I think that a story about what New Orleans is doing with the wind energy industry, I think is really important. The way that we all have been collaborating together, us here on the council on the policy side, on the educational side with UNO and our other higher ed institutions, with GNO Inc. in our business sector, and all of us coming together as to how we can really court this industry. And I think too, for those in TV, I think it would be really visual to actually head on over to the beach on how the engineering folks are working on designing, you know, whether it's the new turbines or whether you're working on overall how is the wind industry and turbines in the Gulf going to deal with hurricanes and the type of technology you're designing there. They have the whole wave pool that I think could be very visual there as well. So here I am just pitching a story to you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Should you all, you know, like I said, have a slow news day or decide to do something for sweeps, or even look, our newspaper guys, they can go out any single day because they're, you know, you know, you've got a lot of reporters over where you're at. So, and it's just you, Ben, you can go right after this meeting, you know, because I'm sure you've got not much going, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so there's my pitch for this. And I'm just so proud of everything that you all have been doing and really the collaboration around this. I mean, we really need to be taking this approach on so many other types of business initiatives as well. And I think that this can be like a real model, and we have some
Yes.
really significant wins.
We do. I've been in New Orleans a long time and I've never felt this collaborative spirit to this level ever. Like all of our academic partners are working closely together. Everyone's finding their niche and we're all supporting each other.
That's great. Thank you all. Okay. All right, so with that, that concludes our agenda, and since I still don't have a quorum, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Meeting adjourned.